Friday, the 14th of June. Hello, everyone. This is your Frontier opening bell, and this is how we're wrapping up the market week with just a quick run through some of the market numbers for Thursday, with Nigerian stock market stronger by 20 basis points. The BRVM was even much stronger Thursday by 77 basis points. The EGX finished off this week in Cairo by a resounding 1.09%. Very solid reading on the EGX 30 above 26,000 level. The Nairobi stock market was better by 15 basis points, but the GSE in South Africa fell by 0.87%. Let's take a quick walk through East and Central African headlines, with Kenya's Ministry of Finance or the Treasury raising borrowing target to about 600 billion shillings. That came through the presentation of the country's 2024-2025 budget, which was presented yesterday by the Minister of Finance, or the Treasury secretary in charge of that, Njuguna Ndungu. And of course, the rest of the East African community, finance ministers also presented their various budgets with higher taxes, higher spending, all contained in the budget across the three major economies in the region: Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. In the meantime, Tanzania's GDP is to accelerate to 5.4% this year. That's according to the finance minister during his budget presentation within the East African community Thursday. But not so cheery news that the BlackRock, with about $400 million iShares Frontier, which the organization invest in frontier and emerging markets, which includes Nigeria, Kenya, will be shut down. It's one news that everyone will be looking at the impact of that moving forward on frontier markets across Africa. And MTN Uganda yesterday announced that it has successfully completed the secondary market purchase of its shares after the initial public offer, which got the company, the telco giant, listed on the Uganda Securities Exchange. Now, the secondary offer has been concluded. That announcement was made at its headquarters on Wednesday. And Afreximbank and Rawbank say they've signed a historic $100 million deal to support trade financing facility for DR Congo. It's the biggest ever for the Central African economy. But let's get on to see what's making headlines in West Africa. Friday, with Nigeria's oil production slumping to 1.25 million barrels per day in May, according to the latest OPEC report. In the meantime, there's no deal yet on the table that's agreed between the Nigerian government and the labor unions as far as the minimum wage is concerned. The managing director of Famsi Interbees, Suleiman, has been jailed for 5 years for defrauding investors to the sum of 2 billion naira. That announcement came, the sentencing of the woman involved, the CEO of a company of investment firm, but the announcement was posted on the official Twitter handle of Nigeria Securities and Exchange Commission. The World Bank says Nigeria's central bank's tightening of monetary policy will not ease the country's naughty inflation. And that's a very interesting piece of information that everyone's been worried about, whether the central bank of Nigeria still has any tool yet in its box to ease inflation, and the central bank continued tightening cycle at the last monetary policy meeting. And finally, in West Africa, Ghana has secured a memorandum of understanding to suspend bilateral loan payments until 2026. That deal with the bondholders will help Ghana secure additional funding from agencies such as the IMF and the World Bank. Let me look through the Southern Africa's headlines, with Media 24 of South Africa is looking to close several mainstream newspapers. It's not so good news, as it were, with some jobs expected to go as it were. But things are changing. The media landscape is changing not only in South Africa, but around the world. In Zimbabwe, the ferrochrome miners have agreed to build a power plant that will help support the need of energy for their operations. And of course, you most likely have heard about Time Bank of South Africa, that digital bank, looking to do $150 million in initial public offer as it targets listing on the New York Stock Exchange. And still within South Africa, Zimbabwe and other automakers are in talks with Transnet to revive a car export terminal that would help their operations as Transnet continue to struggle in its operations in South Africa. And finally, President Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe has opened the 10th edition of the CEO Africa Annual Roundtable Conference in Victoria Falls. Those are your headlines this Friday in Southern Africa. But let me take you through the Northern Africa, and that's where we'll wrap it up with the CEO of MS Beda, which is the Egyptian Medium and Small Scale Enterprise Development Agency. Rami says the agency is looking to foster or build relationship with other African countries, while Egypt is Russia's foremost trade partner in Africa, and that's according to the Russian ambassador to the big North African economy. And the Financial Regulatory Agency, the Egypt's FRA, has disclosed non-banking finance volume for the first quarter of this year. You can look up the size of that in more details. And finally, Libya and Tunisia border crossing to reopen partially after several months of closure. And those are your headlines north of the continent. And wrapping up today's Frontier Opening Bell, I am Bosin Namafa. Do have a great weekend, and I'll see you back on Monday.